in the past, when you thought of Formula 1 drivers, being in this category meant peak masculinity.
And take that! Oh my goodness!
How do you do it?
Big balls.
However, this is very different from today. But before heading into the video, yep, this is happening, finally. So after about 2 years of hiding behind a microphone, this is me. This feels weird, but I'm Joe, the guy behind the videos you've been watching, and I figured it was about time I showed my face. I mean, this way I can be a bit more real with you guys, connect with you a bit better, and I guess it gives me a reason to at least look a little bit presentable every week, because honestly, it feels way more real this way. I mean, no more talking to a wall. I can talk to you guys directly, because as cringe as it does sound, this is not my channel, it's ours. It would be nothing without you guys. I really hope this doesn't turn into a Dream 2.0. Hi. Oh man. But anyways, now you know who's been writing, ranting and drinking way too much coffee behind the scenes. The videos aren't changing, but hopefully this just makes them feel a bit better, a bit more authentic, you know? If you have any ideas about how to make the setup or background look any more creative, let me know. I would love to hear some suggestions. And thank you so much for all your support. Make sure to smash that subscribe button so maybe we can hit that big 1 million one day. And with that said, let's drive on back into the video. Yesterday's drivers fueled themselves like rock stars. Back in the day, being extremely fit wasn't really the point. Training meant lifting champagne bottles, smoking in the paddock, and maybe running a lap if you weren't too hungover. Best example, James Hunt. He could finish a cigarette, then hop into the car like it was nothing. And then there's Juan Pablo Montoya. He showed up in his debut season looking a little heavier than the usual drivers, or at least that's what the Williams directors thought. He still went racing anyway, and honestly, I respect that level of confidence. Drivers then had swagger. They were untouchable in attitude. They had the pace, they had the guts, but when it came to nutrition or gym time, sometimes that wasn't a priority. But comparing it to today's grid, the contrast is brutal. The sport went full try-hard. Hamilton trains like he's preparing for a UFC title fight, and Russell probably spends more time in ice baths than on his own couch. Also, talking of ice baths, did anyone see that iconic Tsunoda photo of him in an ice bath at the Singapore GP? Yes, that's a high voltage sign. I guess Max really is their favorite driver. The rest of the grid, always on a bike. Seriously, I'm pretty sure their Strava has more mileage than their F1 car. Yeah, we have all seen that Verstappen video. However, they take nutrition very seriously. It's not just important anymore, it's strategy.
So if I'm a kilo overweight, I can lose up to 2 seconds in the race distance. So my weight is very important. And also during the weight, I lose up to 4 kilos in the race.
Red Bull's training routines look like military boot camps. Drivers do crazy neck workouts with resistance bands, because when you're cornering at that speed, you're basically carrying 5 times your body weight on your neck. And honestly, both versions have their charm. Old school chaos made racing sketchy and unpredictable. Today's athletes bring elite precision, clutch performances, and consistency that's almost scary.
Around the outside, can they make it through? They bang wheels, and barging through is Charles Leclerc.
Personally, I think yesterday's grid had a glow up from rock stars to athletes, because while the drivers evolved, the cars also did, and forced these guys to become, apart from superheroes, a walking encyclopedia. Yep, you heard that right. Back in the day, Formula 1 was simple. You dropped a brave guy into a fast car and told him to hang on for dear life. No endless data, screens, no engineers yelling about tire pressures, no 50-page manuals on steering wheel buttons. But times changed, and so did the cars. Today's machines aren't just fast, they're rolling computers. The steering wheel alone looks like something NASA rejected for being too complicated.
So during a lap, you're constantly tweaking these settings to really get the most out of your car.
All while defending against Verstappen breathing down their neck. One wrong button press and boom, your pace is dead.
This lap of this race goes to Max Verstappen, who's going now for the lead of the race, and in a shower of sparks makes his way into turn 1 ahead.
This is the real twist. Modern drivers can't just drive. They have to understand aerodynamics, hybrid systems, and energy recovery like mini engineers. Today's drivers constantly multitask, switching modes lap after lap to find performance, while still keeping the car on track at like 200 miles per hour. Meanwhile, in the past, the physical battle was brutal. No power steering. Fangio, Clark, Lauda. They didn't need to manage battery temperatures, but they needed the strength of a lumberjack just to make it to the finish. And to be fair, those guys were untouchable in bravery. 13 drivers died during Sterling Moss's era alone. I mean, imagine showing up to work every weekend not knowing if one of your colleagues would come back or not. That is a different level of mental game. While old school guys could fumble and still look like heroes, partying on Thursday and racing on Sunday, modern drivers can't afford that. Miss one energy setting and you're just mid. So yeah, before you could throw anyone brave enough into the cockpit, today you need brains, stamina, and enough multitasking skills to make a fighter pilot jealous. They didn't just evolve. It basically turned its drivers into part-time engineers with drip, until until it comes to testing, it's impossible to compare nowadays simulators to the good old track days. Testing used to be pure chaos, real danger, real adrenaline. Now, it's more like a LAN party with steering wheels and too much Red Bull on the desk. Back in the old days, when people said testing, they weren't talking about VR headsets or fancy computers. They meant Ferrari hammering Fiorano lap after lap until the brakes were smoking. Michael Schumacher would grind out thousands of kilometers, basically living at that track. Ferrari had the ultimate playground. Fiorano wasn't just a track, it was their backyard. They could tweak setups whenever they wanted, chasing that last drop of pace. No limits, no rules, just send it. If the driver overcooked a corner, boom, suspension gone, chalk it up and try again. I mean, at least those mistakes taught you something real, not just a red light on some monitor saying you did something wrong. But then the FIA stepped in. In 2009, they decided to kill unlimited testing.
The basic issue is very simple. We cannot go on spending the sort of money that's been spent. So what we're saying is, limit the expenditure, and then a clever engineer within that expenditure can do whatever he likes on the chassis.
And they wanted to create more equal conditions to all teams. These days, drivers spend forever in simulators, dark rooms, fake tire models. Carlos Sainz has even said it himself. Sims aren't as good as teams think. They're useful, sure, but they don't feel like reality, like Jack Doohan has proved to us. Here's the thing, you can't program instinct. Think of Captain Sully landing that plane on the Hudson. No simulator gave him those reflexes. It was pure gut. Out on track, drivers tilt, they get salty, they improvise.
Oh my goodness. That was Lewis Hamilton.
That's why you still see fails, like Behrman tapping the smooth operator and nearly getting himself banned.
Trying to go the long way round. There's the contact! Contact between the two of them!
No software patch is gonna predict ego clashes like that. And fans notice, half saying Sims are elite tools, half saying they're mid compared to the good old days. I kinda get both sides, but low-key, I miss the chaos. It was sketchy, it was risky, but man, it felt alive. Back then, drivers flexed with their instincts, and today, they flex with their gaming setups. And if old school testing made people feel sad compared to what we have today, wait until you see how the way to enter Formula 1 has changed. Maybe the way testing changed just affects F1 drivers, but what about the ones that are trying to reach the category? Back then, it was scrappy. You started late by today's standards, maybe 14 or 15, borrowing a friend's car on a dusty track. Someone in town noticed. A local shop, a regional sponsor, maybe the guy who owned a transport company. You'd string together help, run national series, then beg for a test. Sometimes you knock on a team's door with nothing but a helmet and a handshake. Still, some drivers nowadays convince their team principals to get a chance in a lower team to prove their abilities, then manage to get into the real deal. But to be honest, now it's a conveyor belt with shiny LEDs. Kids start at 6 to 8. By 12, they're doing international kart events. There's a strict ladder. Karts, F4, F3, F2, you know where. And hanging over all of it, driver academies. Red Bull Juniors, Ferrari Driver Academy, Mercedes, Alpine. If you're in, congrats. You just skipped half the lobby. Coaching, fitness, sim time, psychology, media. It's polished. It's professional. It's also expensive as fuck. Moreover, families bankroll these first steps. Not all, but many. Early travel, engines, tires, coaching. The bill adds up faster than a purple sector. And then brands jump in when the metrics look elite. In other words, the sponsor shows up after the spreadsheet says you're top class. In the old days, a late bloomer could land a test and send it on raw instinct. Today, without an academy badge or your daddy's funding, like you know who,
Behind Stroll there is the Williams of Lance Stroll.
you're often invisible. So yeah, money matters a lot. Before it came from a local sponsor or a bold backer. Now it comes from structured partners, family support, or a junior program. However, this isn't just from now. It goes way back. Let's talk about how Niki Lauda did it. His family wasn't on board with racing, so he didn't wait around. He took out a bank loan against his future, basically betting on himself. First, he bought a drive with March in the early 70s, but then came BRM. Again, he hustled back in to secure that seat. And that's where his speed started turning heads, and the rest is history. To put it simply, then was hustle, luck, and a handshake. Now it's a ladder, a laptop, and a lot of marketing around your persona. Both create stars, but the path has a lot more gates now. And talking about marketing, yeah, I think that kind of went off the rails. Formula 1 didn't just get quicker, it got messier and way more personal. Fast forward to the 2000s, the most exclusive content you'd ever see was a blurry photo in a magazine. That was the gossip pipeline. Fans barely knew what Michael Schumacher did off track. He was this untouchable, mysterious figure. But then social media showed up and everything flipped. Charles Leclerc is out here uploading piano covers on YouTube, Lando grinding games on Twitch, and Lewis, the man literally turns Paris Fashion Week into a second paddock. Like, he's clutching titles on Sunday and flexing drip on Monday. Actually, he's only doing one of those things these days.
I'm just useless.
So say again?
I'm just useless.
Anyway, this stuff doesn't stop at polished PR moments. It gets random, funny, and sometimes kinda awkward. Lance Stroll being spotted on a celebrity dating app right after a breakup. Then you've got Kimi.
To the working range. Oh, he hits him! Kimi Antonelli into the side of Charles Leclerc.
Not him, the Iceman.
Hello.
The real one, the king of doing his own thing. And back in the day, dude missed presentations about giving a single
Kimi, you missed the presentation by Pele. Yeah. Will you get over it?
Yeah, I was having a
Imagine Kimi trying that now. It would have snapped instantly across the media. Instead of just watching drivers as elite athletes, we now binge their lives like it's a reality show. Arguments are exaggerated.
You've got a problem, change your car.
Then you change your car because Checo has been saying the car is
And suddenly, every little tap looks like mega scenes.
There we go again.
Perez has spun coming out of Portier.
Schumacher's mystery had a cool vibe that Leclerc playing piano on TikTok just doesn't hit the same way. But on the flip side, it makes the sport feel alive 24/7. Fans know the names of drivers' dogs, we know their girlfriends. I mean, they're on camera more than the race sometimes. And that's the thing. Today we worry about TikToks, drip and Tinder sightings, but back then the real concern wasn't how drivers looked online. It was whether they'd make it out of the car alive. Today we have drive to survive. Back then was drive and hope you survive. Today's safety standards are pretty high. It's easy now to meme about Mazepin spinning out every other session, but years ago, a single spin could have been the end of your days. Since the beginning, F1 wasn't just about speed, it was about survival. That's how brutal it was. The cars were sketchy, the tracks were unforgiving, and safety was basically an afterthought. Take Niki Lauda at the Nürburgring in 1976. The guy was Ferrari's ultimate benchmark, the elite driver anyone measured themselves against. Then, out of nowhere, boom! His car lost control, smashed into the barriers, and went up in flames. Lauda was trapped, inhaling toxic smoke, while other drivers literally stopped their own races to drag him out. Oh, and the barriers? Man, those things were basically metal guardrails you'd find on the motorway. No proper crash structure. If you walked away from a wreck, people called it exceptional. If you didn't, well, the sport just moved on, unless you were Ayrton Senna.
Good evening. Ayrton Senna, 3 times world motor racing champion, has died after crashing during the San Marino Grand Prix.
Now fast forward to today, and it feels like a different world. Modern F1 is untouchable when it comes to safety. The halo, that thing makes the car look like a giant flip-flop, but it saved more than enough lives to justify itself. And the carbon tubs, stronger than a tank. Just look at Romain Grosjean in Bahrain 2020.
It was a miracle. It was absolutely a miracle.
20 years ago, that would have been a tragedy, no question. And here's the crazy part, it's not just about avoiding death. The new safety tech also lets drivers push harder. When you know the halo and survival cell have your back, you can send it without constantly worrying about the worst case scenario. That's why the pace today is supreme, and drivers are still grinding like mad even with insane risks. If you enjoyed seeing how drivers have changed, I'm sure you'd like to see what they need to become part of this exclusive category. So make sure to watch Do You Need Talent to Be in F1? And as always, thank you for watching.